think they are actually listening with open heart, if that's the term, and they are trying really to find a solution, a way to this catastrophe that the Sumarin family is facing. The session dealt with many technical legal issues that it's hard to explain. It's about what we call in Latin res judicata, about previous decisions that were taken in the 40 years of legal battle and how those decisions are binding. Which party are they binding and how they affect the final decision in the case. As you remember, there was a previous case to evict the family in the 1990s, and the Israeli magistrate court rejected that lawsuit, and the appeal that was filed on that decision was also rejected, which means that there is a final decision not to evict the family from the house. One of the main pillars of that decision was that the family got actually a permit from the original owner, Musa, a permit, sort of an eternal permit, irrevocable permit, that they can stay in the house as long as they are a family living in the house. One of the questions is whether this permit was given only to Muhammad, to late Muhammad, who is the husband of Amal, or this permit was given also to his wife and his sons and daughters who were alive in 1983 when he died. So that's one of the questions that the court was pushing towards in the appeal today. It seems like the court wants to say eventually that that permit that was given to this family from the original owner, Musa, is still valid, and they should be able to live as long as they are alive. At least Amal and the sons that were alive were born at that time and were with the late Muhammad, living with the original owner, the grandfather, Musa. This will eventually mean that the family can stay in the house for at least decades in the house, and that's a victory. But we also had other arguments in the case. One of the arguments dealt with the issue of declaring Musa as an absentee and thus confiscating the ownership of the property from the Sumarin family to the absentees, to the custodian of absentees' property, and from him to the Himnuta company, which is a settler company that is helping the city of David, Elad, and so on, to evict the family from the house. For the first time, the court today was willing to hear also some arguments in this regard, and this is also very important. Now they want the state to reply, how come the state of this custodian declared this property as a property of an absentee when at the time Musa was not alive, and they did not actually look into the heirs of Musa. They didn't check where they live, what kind of citizenship they have, if they are in the country, if they are outside of the country. I don't know how aware you are with this law of absentees, but it basically says that any Palestinian who was living in the neighboring Arab countries that were declared as enemy countries by Israel, they are considered absentees if they own a property in Israel. And one of the questions is whether the sons or the heirs of Musa were actually living in those countries, or were living in Europe, in the United States. They had a passport that is not a passport that is sufficient to declare them as absentees. So if the court has opened that window today, the custodian needs to reply to the court within 45 days about his opinion on this issue. We'll try to send whatever information we have regarding the heirs of Musa to the custodian. Hopefully he will change his mind. I'm not hopeful that much, because he has been cooperating since 40 years ago until now. He has been cooperating heavily with the settlers in a manner that this property ends in the hands of Elad, so that the city of David that is adjacent to the property can actually expand.
So you're optimistic generally from
I think that today's hearing gives some hope that the family will not be evicted from the house. I think there are chances, good chances, that the court might say that no eviction, at least as long as Amal and her sons who are living in the house are living in a manner that reminds us of the result in the case of Sheikh Jarrah, which is basically a similar result. If you recall, they gave them again some kind of status to live in their houses for an indefinite period of time until another decision is made. So I'm hopeful.
Thank you very much.
Sure, thank you.
Any other questions?